Hello, guys.
Hi.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Hello.
Morning.
Hi, how are you? Is it everyone taking your breakfast yet?
No, not yet, actually.
No, yeah.
Have it already.
Okay, all right. Welcome to the Firebase Engage Day. So thanks all of you joining us. However, you are in the YouTube channel, Facebook Live. And today we will be sharing the quick tips aspect of the Firebase and how Firebase new feature can benefit you during the development. So again, thanks all of you spending time with us. However, you are in Thailand, Malaysia, KL, or somewhere, Penang. Okay. All right, let me introduce myself first. So hi, guys. My name is Luis Young. I'm a lead for the GDG Georgetown. And so the bottom, that one, so he is our co-lead. Yeah, Eric. So he also one of the planners of this event. Oh, yeah. So, all right. So let me introduce about what is the GDG and who we are. So GDG meaning is the Google Developer Groups. We started since by 2030. We are the not-profit community, but GDG is a platform offered by the Google. So every year we organize the events like talks, workshop, collabs, hackathons, DevFest, and our extended for the developer discuss and share their experience when developing the application using the Google technology. So, all right. So if you wanna ask about where is our new events, know about our events updates. So normally we will announce on our social media page. So you can follow our Facebook community page, LinkedIn or Twitter. Forget our latest news from us lah. So today we have our two awesome speaker. Both of them, they are also a GDE. GDE meaning the Google Developer Expert. So let me introduce our first speaker. So hi, our first speaker is Jerawat. So he from the Line Company, Thailand. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, sawadee krap.
Sawadee krap.
Yeah. So today he will be share about how to increase your development velocity with Firebase Amenity Suite. Right. So our awesome speaker is Lim Shang-yi. Hi. So he from KL Malaysia. He is a senior developer in the Humble company. So today he will be sharing about how Firebase can help you build faster and kickstart your project. So both of them, they are the great speaker. So guys, don't be shy. If you have any question, you just drop your question in this live chat. So our speaker will answer you later. So all right, now I pass to Jerawat.
Okay.
Okay.
Let
All
me
right.
share my screen.
Okay.
Can you see my screen now? Is it good? Good?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. So hey developer, my name is Jirawat Karanvithayakan. I am Google Developer Expert for Firebase from Thailand. So today I will show you how Firebase Emulator Suite can help you increase your development velocity in my project. So let's start with some Firebase. Firebase is the mobile app, web app, game, and chatbot development platform that helps you build your application. So the area of the Firebase product are distributed into three areas. The first one is build. The product in the build area, for example, like a cloud function for Firebase, real-time database, or Firebase hosting, cloud file store that you may know before. And the second area is release and monitor. In the release and monitor, there are the Firebase test lab, cache analytics, or performance monitoring inside this. And the third one is Engage. The product in this area are like a remote config, cloud messaging, in-app messaging, or dynamic link that you may know or you may use before. So right now, Firebase provides you in the many platforms like a mobile app, Android and iOS, and web, and also game that they provide Unity SDK and C++ SDK. And Firebase also support the cross platform like Flutter, React also, because they are the Flutter Fire and React Fire, and actually they are Angular Fire also. And next, all of the feature, all of the product in the Firebase are backed by Google Cloud, Google infrastructure. So is that mean you don't need to care about the scale up and scale down your server? The Firebase will scale up and scale down your server depend on the transaction interact with your service automatically. So you don't need to build your backend also, because Firebase also provide you the back office as known as Firebase console that allow you to manage all of the feature, all of the services in Firebase via the browser. So before I show you the Firebase Emulator Suite, I will show you some of the Firebase product that I will use in my development project. So the product that I would like to mention are in the build area. So let's start with Cloud File Store. The Cloud File Store is a NoSQL database that allows you to collect the data as a document-oriented, like a MongoDB, that some of you may program with a MongoDB before. And also, the great feature is a real-time syncing. So when you update the data in the Firebase server, all of the user will get the latest update automatically from the Cloud File Store. And also support offline that allow people who play your services when play your services, even they get lots of connection. And lastly, the Cloud File Store is the multi-region database that you can trust the availability around 99.999. So you can trust to deploy your application or services that integrate with the Cloud File Store to the production. And this slide, I would like to show you the great feature of the Cloud File Store. In this slide, you will see the yellow line and the blue line. The yellow line means some of the client write the data to the Cloud File Store. And after the people write the data, some of the client write the data to the Cloud File Store. All of the client that subscribe for Cloud File Store will get the latest update automatically. Even you have a million of clients, they will get automatically update. So you don't need to write the code to pull the latest data by yourself. No more manually. So this one is a good concept to reduce the battery consume for your customer. And the next one is the offline support. Cloud File Store allows you to write the data when the people lost the connection that I mentioned before. For example, for this slide, when people lost the connection on collection is poor or bad, people can write the data to the local storage first. And when they get back to the connection is good now. All of the data in the local will sync into the Firebase server automatically. So you don't need to do anything. This is good, right? So next one, I would like to mention the Cloud Function for Firebase, another Firebase product that I will show you the demo today. The Cloud Function for Firebase is the definition of the Cloud Function for Firebase is the run function server-side in the scalable cloud triggered by Firebase event and HTTP requests. So is that means you can write the function in your local and deploy it to the Google Cloud. So your function will store in the cloud and waiting for some trigger from the Firebase product or maybe HTTP request, web-based request that people will call it. So right now, there are many kinds of the Firebase feature that integrate with the Cloud Function for Firebase, like authentication, Cloud File Store that I will show you today, real-time database, Cloud File Store, Firebase hosting. You can create the dynamic website, dynamic content via the Cloud Function X, Firebase hosting, Firebase Test Lab and Analytics, Firebase Cloud Messaging, Firebase Remote Config. And also, like I told you, web-based, you can integrate with the Cloud Function. Cloud Function provide you to create API. So in the daily life, I'm already create webhook API to build them live chatbot in my job. So let me show you how does this work. Deep dive into the function that I told you. For example, if you would like to convert the message that people write to the Cloud File Store or real-time database to be like an emoji. Maybe some of the messages include the emoji, emoji symbol, right? So emoji character. And you can, when people write the data to, let's see this, right? So when the people, number one, when the people write a message to your database and you write the function, Cloud Function to listening some part of the messages that you store in the database. When the database got the new message, they will trigger the Cloud Function, wake the Cloud Function, wake the function up to do something, to process something. For this example, when people send a message, they wake database wake the Cloud Function work to convert the emoji symbol and write it back to the real-time database automatically. The function that I show you in this slide is a background function. That means you don't need to code it manually. And next one, they also provide you create the HTTP trigger. You can create the API from the Cloud Function for Firebase also. For example, you create the webhook API and add it between the GitHub and Slack. So for example, when people push your source code or commit the source code to the repository, the GitHub will send the webhook to my webhook API. So my webhook API will process like detail of them pushing or committing and send it to development team via Slack. This can happen with Cloud Function for Firebase. So for Cloud Function for Firebase is Java development platform that allow you to write the JavaScript like a Node.js or TypeScript, and then you deploy it via the Firebase CLI with a command line to the production. It's very easy. You just need some code editor, Node.js or TypeScript that you can write, and then Firebase CLI to deploy it to the production. So come to the main main thing that I would like to show you. The two pain points that the developer meet facing in the Cloud Function development are, first, the Firebase deployment. In the Cloud Function deployment, when you write the code or fix the code and you would like to deploy the function to the Firebase server, you have to write command like Firebase deploy and wait for a few minutes. So for a few minutes, you listen it and you may think it's not long. It's not too long. Few minutes, 1, 2, or 3 minutes, right? But actually, in the realistic, when you edit your code, when you fix your code a little bit, and you would like to see the result, right? You have to wait 3 minutes each time. It's not good because it will consume a lot of the time for daily life, right? So it's not good. This is a pain point for development, Cloud Function development. And second, right now, Node.js runtime in the Cloud Function for Firebase is targeted to version 12. This is a default when you initiate the new project with the Cloud Function for Firebase. But you can also target the Node.js runtime to the version 10 or the version 14. From the 14 is in the beta, but you can target right now. All of these are in the Blaze plan. In the Firebase, there are two plans, the price plan that you can choose. At first, when you initiate the new project, you will get the Spark plan. It means free plan, so no charge at all. But in the Cloud Function for Firebase right now, with the Node.js version 10, 12, and 14, the system behind the scene, when you deploy the function and they have to create the container image and build everything like a Linux, Node.js, NPM package in the server instance, they would they need to use the cloud build, one of the product in the GCP that need to have the billing account. I mean is you have to buy your credit card to the GCP billing account first to deploy the function to the production. So you have to use the second plan. The second plan is Braze plan. The Braze plan is pay as you go, that you need to buy your credit card. So it's pain point, right? Because some of the people not comfortable to buy the credit card at first. So let's see what the difference between the Spark and Braze plan. I would like to show you first. In the Spark and Braze plan, I would like to mention in the invocation. Invocation is the request that you will hit the function or wake the function up to do something for you. It's a request, right? If you use the Braze plan for today, you will get the free quota around 2 million requests to your function every month. It means when you start a new month, the quota will be reset, okay? And if you would like to use more, if you got the transaction a lot, you have to pay $0.4 per million requests. Next million, you will pay 0.4. It's quite cheap. So, and then the question that you may have right now is, if you would like to start develop the function in the Cloud Function for Firebase, can you develop it in locally or develop it without any credit card binding? Luckily, you come to this Firebase Engage Day. Last year, Firebase released the Firebase Emulator Suite to allow you to prototype, development, and test and many of Firebase products in your local. Like right now, you can develop some Firebase hosting in your local, cloud file store, cloud function for Firebase in your local, real-time database, and lastly, Firebase authentication. You can develop it in the product, develop them in the production. In the local. So all of the clients that interact with your services can be like Android, iOS, and web, or maybe some server side like a Firebase admin to access to the many of product in the local like now. Don't need to buy any credit card and don't need to wait for 3 minutes to deploy it to the production. Let me show you how does it work for Firebase Emulator Suite. So in the left-hand side, you will see the client like an Android app, iOS app, and web app, right? And the dash block that you will see in the right-hand side is mean the local, the match in your machine. So I have the Cloud File Store database inside and a function in the Cloud Function for Firebase. When the people send the request, send the message to the Cloud File Store database, they will send it from the client to the local Cloud File Store. And then I write the function to listen some part in the Cloud File Store. Cloud File Store will send the trigger to my Cloud Function like this. For example, like the people send the shopping cart that include all of the items that they need to buy and send it, and Cloud File Store will trigger my function to calculate total number of items, total price that the user have to pay. And then I calculate it and send it back to the Cloud File Store. All of this will happen in the local. Don't need to deploy the production. Don't impact to the production data. And yes, when you develop in the local, it means you have more secure. And Firebase also released the Firebase Emulator Suite UI that help you bring the Firebase console from the production to the local. So you can view and manage many of the data and product in Firebase that I mentioned before in the local. And you can see the log from the Cloud Function from here also. It's really good because some of the feature in the Firebase Emulator Suite UI can do, but something Firebase console cannot do. For example, like a Cloud File Store. In the production, if you would like to delete all of the data in the Cloud File Store, you have to delete one by one collection document. Is take a lot of time if you development in the production and you delete the data. But in the Cloud File Store, in the Emulator Suite UI, they provide you a button that you can click and clear all of the data in one click. It's very easy. And next, for the real-time database. In the production, if you would like to filter data in the Firebase console, it's not possible right now because I think it may attack the performance. But in the local, if you use Emulator Suite UI and you would like to find the data, filter the data, you can do it and it will show the result in real time. So right now, I think it is time to demo you. Okay, let's move to the demo. In the demo right now, you will see my Cloud File Store. I go to the Firebase console and go to the sub-menu Cloud File Store in the left-hand side. So you will see the collection name line, and I have a document called hack, and this is a field in the document. So I would like to change some field, the value in some field in the document, and you will see I integrate Cloud File Store with my chatbot. Let me show you. I will change 1 to 25 to only 1, and let's see the result. 1, 2, go. Hello, baby. Okay, that's cool. Please give me a cap in your home. So right now you will see I can change the data, and my function got the trigger from the Cloud File Store. Someone write the data or change the data in the Cloud File Store, and my function listening the data. And when the data change, they send me the trigger, and I can create the beautiful message and send it to live users for something like this. So you will see 1 October here, or if you would like to change it again to 1 to 25 from here. Yes, really cool, right? It's quite be real time. So this one is in the production. And if you're familiar with the Cloud Function development, Cloud Function deployment, you may use the Firebase space deploy, and will take a few minutes. It's not good. So I will show you the Firebase emulator suite, how to set up it first. When you would like to set up the Firebase emulator suite, you can go to the function folder that you work for Cloud Function for Firebase, and then you can use Firebase init emulator, something like that. So you if you have the Firebase function folder, you can init the Firebase emulator anywhere, anytime you want. So right now, just enter. So you will see the logo of the Firebase a moment, and then you will see the choice that you can choose the emulator you to enable, right? So for example, I would like to enable Cloud Function for Firebase and Cloud File Store. You can select it by spacebar from here, and then click enter. And they will tell you would like to download emulator right now. Yes. This is good, right? Because this is in the local, you can install the emulator very fast. Okay, right now, Firebase emulator are available in my machine. So let's start the emulator suite. How to start it? You can use Firebase emulator. Hold on, start. This command will start the emulator, all of the emulator you have in the machine that you enabled it before. But if you would like to start for some services that you would like to develop, you can use only, for example, functions or hosting, something like this. But today I will show you the trick that how to import the data that you work with the Cloud File Store. If you used to export the data to your local, you can import the data that you work with the Firebase emulator suite when you start the emulator suite. The one thing that I forgot to mention you, when you develop Cloud File Store or real-time database in local, when you shut down the Firebase emulator suite, all of the data will be clear. It means start from zero every time. So there are some command lines that allow you to export all of the data from the Cloud File Store and real-time database to your local. And if you export it to your local, you can import it back when you start emulator next time. I've used dash import equal./ and the folder that the name for the saved data is dir. So I specify dir, but you can specify any name you want to export and import. Okay, let's enter. It will take maybe 10 seconds for start the emulator. Okay, file store start, database start, and function start. Okay, done. It's short time, right? It's very fast. So right now, you will see the emulator suite UI, the URL. You can copy the emulator suite UI from here and open it with the browser. Hey, you will see the Firebase console in your local machine. This one is no need internet right now. You can develop the Firebase feature from here. And you will see now I turn on the function emulator, Cloud File Store emulator already. Let's go to the File Store tab at the top. I have a data, same as the data I have in the production. The collection name in the Cloud File Store right now, you see the left-hand side line and document name hat, and I have many fields inside. And right now, I would like to change some value in Cloud File Store. Let's see, I will change it what is today now? Today is 27. I will change 1 to 25 to 27 from here, and then click yes. Hey, any clap from your home? You see it come very near real time, right? Okay, so now you can use the Firebase trigger like a Cloud File Store trigger the function in the local to do something for you and send the message real line. So next one, I would like to show you to show you a webhook. So in the Firebase Emulator Suite and Cloud function that I use, I already write the webhook API. So you can grab, let me zoom in. You can grab the webhook API from the log tabs in Firebase Emulator Suite like this. I create the blind proxy function in the cloud function for Firebase. Let me show you in my code a little bit. This is live proxy that I write in index.js. And let me show you how I would like to use this function in the local. Okay, I try to open it via the browser, and it's good because if it works properly, the function will show you the method you request to the function. So next, I would like to use the next tool. The next tool I use to tunnel the external to access my local is ngrok. Some of you may know this tool. The ngrok is a free tool that allow people from outside to access to your local. So I will start the new terminal and shell to where the ngrok execute file inside. You can download the ngrok for free from the ngrok.com, and I downloaded it already and push it in my local machine. So right now I will start ngrok like this, /ngrok http. And before you start the http, you have to see what is the port that Emulator Suite start the cloud function. So you will see the port that Emulator Suite used for cloud function right now is 5001. So in the ngrok, when you would like to start it, you have to specify the port like this, 5001, and then click enter. The ngrok will provisioning the URL, the external URL for you to allow people to access your local machine. And in line, we have to use HTTPS URL to integrate with the webhook API. So I copy this from the ngrok. And then before you open it, you have to copy the part that you develop in your local machine like this and append to the ngrok URL, and then try to enter it. I should see the method I request. 1, 2, go. Yes, I got get like I request from the local, right? And I will move to the live developer console to add my local ngrok URL that I would like people, I would like to interact with my chatbot in the local, and then click update. So this process, I bind my ngrok URL to the live chatbot, and let's see what live chatbot works. Okay, let's move to my live chatbot. This one in the right-hand side, I will send a sticker that's very popular in Thailand. Send to the live chatbot. So you will see all of the payload that lie forward to my webhook. And for example, if you would like to get what the meaning of this sticker, I would like to get the value from the keyword from here, from the keyword object. I can develop my code. I can write my code, edit my code in the local. For example, this one, I print all of the payload from the live to show people. And right now, I would like to print only keyword. I can specify keyword here. And then you can open line again and send another one. For example, from here, I send this character. Yes, you will see only keyword value from the live chatbot. So it means you can write and test your application, your function in your local machine. It will help you increase the development velocity for sure. So from this session, I hope you got some ideas to develop and increase your development velocity in your services. Thank you for watching.
So, all right. Thank you, Zerawat. So, I saw I got the 3 questions is asking you. So
Okay.
Can you see that? Yeah.
With the Firebase Emulator Suite, can we migrate data to production cloud at Firebase Cloud with GUI, for example, using? I'm not sure about this. Right now, I would say no, but I will explore more the good question and how can I send you? I think I will send it to the organizer, GDG Georgetown organizer, the good answer after this. Okay.
Oh, yeah, sure. So the second one is
Any recommendation to learn Firestore?
learn the Firestore.
You can go to firebase.google.com/docs. There are many of the tutorial that you can implement, and for an example function that you can interact with the Cloud Firestore, many trigger from the Cloud Firestore, for example, like on write, on update, on create, and on delete. And also another thing is you can search Firebase. If you would like to implement with the cloud function, you can search Firebase function sample GitHub in the Google, and you will see many of them, the example project from there.
Okay, so thank you. So this is
I don't really
another one.
understand the terminal part because I am using Windows. In the terminal part, you can open the terminal. In the terminal, maybe command line tool, right? You can use the command line tool also. The same command that I use in Mac. Yeah, they will work the same thing. So if you would like to try and learn more how to work with your window, you can go to firebase.google.com/docs and dive to go through the emulator suite section.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Zerawat. So,
Sure.
Anyone still have any questions? I think no. Yeah. So thank you, Zerawat.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So now, hey, hi, Shangyi.
Hello.
Hey, hello. So now the turn is Shangyi. So today he will be sharing about how Firebase can help you build faster and kickstart your project. So now I pass to Shangyi.
Hi everyone, I'm Shangi. I'm a software developer at Hubble and GDE in Firebase. So after that interesting session with Jirawat, this session itself will give you a brief outline of how you can use Firebase to start your projects. So we will go through some examples. So we'll go through some agenda today. One of the first few things is what challenges developers usually face during development of most software projects. And of course, we will next jump into some of the Firebase features that can help with those challenges and how you can piece these Firebase features together for different types of projects. So let's get started. So again, from what Jirawat has mentioned is what does Firebase actually do? Firebase actually helps mobile and web app teams to succeed in building their apps. So the primary key concepts that they want to help developers with is that they want you to focus on building your features instead of thinking of the technical complexity on getting those features done. So it helps increase your development velocity, your product velocity as well. So let's see the few categories that Firebase has to offer. One is to build better apps. So these are the technologies that Firebase has to offer to help you build better apps. And if you're done with building better apps and you want to improve now your app quality when it's ready for the market, you can actually implement some of these tools to help you monitor and make sure that your app is up to standard. And once that your app is really stable, you want to look into how you want to increase your user base as well. Firebase also offers these tools to help you out to make sure that you can predict user behavior, understand what the user is using your app for, and you can do all sorts of experiments and testing to see your audience's reactions, their responses towards your application. So if you are just started with Firebase, here are some of the few key platforms that Firebase has support. So if you want to do mobile and mobile iOS development, right, you can always use Firebase SDKs available for iOS and Android. If you're working with cross-platform applications, there are community-supported libraries as well that you can use for maybe Flutter or React Native or Ionic as well, which runs on Angular. So if you're a web developer, Firebase has native SDK support as well. So you can just plug it in and you can run most of the Firebase features. If you're into embedded devices development or working on a desktop app or running on code that runs on C++, you can use some of the tools that Firebase has provided for you to help you out. And if you're a game developer as well and you want to utilize some of these tools, you can go ahead as well. So if you're not in any of these categories, you can still use Firebase on the backend side as well. So if you have a Node.js backend app that needs to connect to something on Firebase, you can use the Firebase Admin SDK to help you out. So we will go through some of these products. Gerald has covered some of them already, so I won't cover them too deeply. But I really want to share with you how these products work in comparison as to without these products, if you were not to use any sort of cloud solution at all. So let's take a look at the first challenge that you most likely will face, which is authentication, right? So in applications that you want to use it for, I mean, if users are going to use your app, right, you need to implement some sort of authentication in order to distinguish between verified and unverified users, who can access what data, what sort of user roles can access any sort of data, right? So all of this, if you were to do it yourself, this is your typical implementation path. This is not 100% of all implementation path, but this is what most of the time people need to do if you want to get started from scratch without any sort of platform as a service sort of solutions available outside. So one of few things is that you would have your app that you need to communicate with the server. In this case, now you will need to build a server application. So it can be a Node.js app. You can maybe it's a J2EE app, or maybe it's a .NET Core app. It's really up to you. So you would then, as a developer, you need to think of a few things you need to do. First, you need to think of what kind of application server that your server app will need to run on, what framework you need to write it on. Then now you need to look for maybe packages, or you would need to write your own authentication API. What happens when user wants to register for an account? How do we make sure that our username and password they send over to the server are secure? How do you make sure that the server gives you tokens that are secure and that can expire? And all of those kind of tokens that you need to handle yourself, it will actually take you a few weeks, right, just to get it right. So this is the typical path that you will need to take if you want to just implement authentication, right? So imagine if you want to build an app that does something very simple as maybe allowing users to save a list of things to do, or a scheduling app, right? You would then now need to spend at least a week or two just to figure out how to authenticate, but you have not yet actually worked on any features that will actually do the scheduling at all. So this is where Firebase wants to remove this pain point that developers will face. Most of the time targeted towards mobile developers who want to spend their time writing mobile code rather than back-end code, right? So this is where Firebase authentication can help you out. It is an identity as a service, and it provides you with a variety of ways you can actually authenticate a user by using username and password. If you don't want to, you want to integrate with social providers as well, such as Facebook or Gmail or Google, you can actually use it out of the box as well. And if you want to be able to support phone number authentication as well, it can be easily supported out of the box by Firebase authentication. So for Malaysia, I think it's first 10,000 signups with the same number. I mean, with different numbers, unique logins they cost free. They are free for the first 10,000 attempts, I think, and subsequent attempts will be billed accordingly. So if you need to support phone number authentication, you can just use Firebase authentication without thinking of the integration with any third-party services to help you out with that. So Besides authentication being a way for new developers who want to get started with doing authentication on your application, it also supports custom authentication, which means that developers, let's say they already have an app on hand that already has your own authentication built in, but now you want to use some of the Firebase features. How can you actually do that while keeping data secure? So Firebase authentication itself does support this feature as well. So yeah, that's one way you can take a look at authentication. So all authentication is run by the Google identity services. So even your username and password are stored very securely on the Google Cloud Platform. So you don't need to handle about making sure you're hashing your passwords right, whether you're rotating your passwords or your salts and stuff like that. So all of this secure user information where the username and passwords are leaked can be handled easily with Firebase authentication. You do not need to store any of the username. In fact, you don't actually get the username and you don't get the passwords from the users at all. Everything is done automatically by Google Firebase authentication. So let's take a look at how you would use Firebase authentication using Firebase, right? So you have your typical app right now and you want to add authentication. All you need to do is just add and install the SDK, authentication SDK, and then you go to Firebase console and set up your authorization domains if you are using web and what sort of authentication methods you allow, whether it's the username, password, Google, etc. And then you need to, although you have now secured, you basically added authentication, you now know which users are considered logged in users, which users are not logged in. Now you will need to write security rules basically to tell them that, hey, tell Firebase that, hey, these are some of the data that should not be exposed to users who have not authenticated, or these are some of the rules for users who have authenticated but do not have certain criteria. So you can actually write security rules to configure them in a detailed manner. So let's take a look at an example of how you would implement this. So this is the Firebase console. So to reach there, you just create a project on Firebase and go to the authentication section. In this case, I have an app called Friendly Eats, which basically provides me with a list of methods. In this case, I've enabled Google authentication, right? And I've included an authorization domain for a website that I want to implement authentication. So let's take a look at the code itself. So this is a very simple example. This is not secure itself, but it demonstrates what Firebase authentication actually helps you do. So let's say you have a web page that shows top secret information, for example, this picture itself, and I only want logged in users to actually be able to log into. So all we need to do is that you need to add your Firebase credentials. Now these are public level keys, so don't worry if they're even exposed to the public, because all of this just identifies what project it is, but it doesn't actually give you permission to how do you say to use your to impersonate another project, because all it does is that, hey, I have a project, I have a Firebase project, that's it. So these are publicly available information that you can put on your client-side code. So here, let's say I want to add a login button, right? So all I do is just add some div tags here. So in this case, let me just hide the picture beforehand, right? So I'm just adding some div UI containers, and Firebase SDK actually provides an easy way for you to what do you call that? To add login buttons already. If you don't want, if you're lazy to create buttons to log in, you can easily use their pre-ready-made UIs that do it for you. So in this case, right, I have an application here. So let me just save this. And of course, things have to be weird when it's not working. So okay, so this is the example of after you implement it, right? So all your SDKs, you can edit a few ways. One of the few ways is to edit directly using the what do you call that? The served pre-compiled libraries that you can use directly, or if you're using npm packages, you can just install it using the npm install. So in this case, this is all pre-built. I did not build this myself. So once we log in into the app, you choose your Google account, and now once the user is authenticated, you should be able to see the content here. Welcome, and then you can see this. So this is a very rudimentary example. So what we're doing here is that we're just checking whether the user is authenticated successfully, and then we just unhide the image. Of course, when you're dealing with sensitive data, right, this is not the way to go. You don't hide data and then you show it just because you're authenticated, right? So most of the time, what you will need to do is to configure security rules on different Firebase products, and that would itself that way Firebase actually knows when you are authenticated, all of your requests to Firebase database will be authenticated accordingly. So if the user is not authenticated and you try to get the data, it doesn't actually return your data. So I hope this is a simple enough example for you to understand how you can implement Firebase authentication. So the next challenge people will most likely have is the ability to save and store data on demand. So how do you want to be able to create an app that allows users to save data, like create new, let's say you have an app like Facebook and you want to be able to add new posts, add comments, everything, you will need to have a database, right? So if you want to build something like that, what will you need to get started with? Of course, besides your server app, now you need to build your REST endpoints. Yeah, this is provided if you're building a client-sided web app that consumes the endpoints. So yeah, this is one example that you would actually need to do. You would need to write endpoints, you need to add authentication as well. Then you need to write data access layer code, for example, SQL statements, how to insert, update, delete if using a SQL database. And if you're implementing any sort of real-time functionality, like you want to know which users are online, or you want to add chatting features to your application, you will now need WebSockets. You need to set up your WebSockets connection, everything. So all of this will actually cost you time, right? You haven't actually written your code yet on your client side. All you did was set up the infrastructure to get that to start working. So you need to write all that foundation code, typically if you were to build it from scratch, right? So imagine now, let's say you have already built your app, right? But now you have a lot of users. You will then need to configure scaling. How do you make sure your app itself is able to support a lot of different users accessing the data at the same time? How do you manage all of these scalability issues? Do you need to spawn more instances of the server app to serve more clients? And what happens to the bottleneck on the database? And then if you, let's say, want to solve it by caching, you will now need to spawn another server just for caching itself. So these are all of the things that typically you will need to do if you want to support a high availability environment. So let's take a look at what Firebase has to offer to help you support that. So there are two databases available. One of them is the real-time database, so you can save data in the JSON structure. So if you don't really like storing data in a normal SQL way, you can save it through a JSON tree. So the entire thing is a huge JSON tree. So if you want to be able to do real-time updates, once you add the SDK, it has automatic real-time update support out of the box. You don't have to configure anything else. And imagine, let's say you're using it halfway and the internet went down. What happens then? You would then need to write code to support this data. Do you want to just throw an error and say, hey, the user is offline, I'm not able to save your data? But with Firebase real-time database, it has offline handling support. So what happens if there's no internet and then you try to add data, it actually saves it on your local local cache. And when internet is up, it automatically syncs it up. So you don't have to configure that yourself. And it has out-of-the-box present support. What does that mean is that if you've noticed some apps that show you the last seen time, whether the user is online or offline, you can actually use real-time database with that. So one of the few key examples of using real-time database is building a chatting app. So if you need to have a localized, customized chatting app for your app, you can always use a real-time database to help you support with that. But it's not just chatting apps alone. If you have some sort of message board that you want to create where people can add content automatically, or you want to do a collaboration feature with multiple users, you can use real-time database to help you out with that. Another way of using Firebase to help you out with storing data is the Cloud Firestore itself. So you actually can store and save data like real-time database, but this offers more organization. So data is stored rather than a JSON structure. It runs on a NoSQL structure. So it runs on documents, collections, and documents. So a list of documents are in a collection. So a document itself can have sub-collections as well. So if you want to be able to write and filter data in a more organized fashion, you can always use Cloud Firestore. So how do you actually implement it? It's pretty simple. Just add the SDKs to your client-side app and then configure them on the Firebase console. So let's take a look at one example. Here is the Firebase console itself. So you can actually see Firestore located here. So I'm just going to click on that. So while waiting, let's take a look at an app here. So I have an app here that I want to write a to-do list, right? So that whenever I go anywhere on my phone or on my computer, all I need to do is just go to the appropriate URL, just add my task listed here. So all we did was just configure Firebase configurations as necessary. We just added the necessary SDKs for Firestore, which is this, and then we just add some code. So this code basically just helps add items to Firestore itself. So for example, I say I want to wash the dishes, I just click add, it should automatically add. And if you notice, the speed itself is really fast because of how Firestore works. So it is scalable on its own, so you don't have to configure scalability at the end. So data can be retrieved really fast regardless of the size of the collection. So let's take a look at how it will look like on the console itself. So you will see that we have a task collection and we have all your documents itself with your data. So you can add a lot of data directly using Firestore, so it should be really easy to do it as well. So this data is added on the fly, so all of this data will appear immediately. So just because I'm a single user doing this doesn't mean that that's why it's fast, but actually even you have a large number of users doing the same thing, it should perform exactly the same as what you did. So you did not have to spend time handling auto-scaling support. You don't need to worry about caching, and everything is all done for you. Easy, right? So let's get back to the third one is to save data. For example, pictures, files, PDFs, or any sort of binary data you want to save in your app, right? So typically, if you were to build this yourself, of course, you will need your server app. You need to add new REST endpoints for support for storage itself. Then now you need to add code to save data in a specific location in your disk. It can be a remote disk, it can be a local disk, and you need to handle what happens if the data runs out. Do we need to replicate the data? How do we make sure that we serve this data as fast as possible to the users? So all of this is just to handling the ability to save data, but you have not written any code yet in your feature to add data, attach a photo, for example, to your app. So how do we actually support this is by using cloud storage for Firebase. So if you want to be able to do that, you can use add the SDKs as normal, and then it has global edge cache where the data is cached at the closest area around you. Then that data is served directly from the cache rather from the storage itself. So you don't have to handle scaling issues. All you need to do is add your security rules and your storage, enable storage. So the next one we have is writing business logic code, right? Since now most of the time you noticed we actually cut off the middleman or the last person here, which is the server app. But sometimes the server app is necessary for you to write very secure code that shouldn't be exposed on your browser or on the client side, essentially. So how do we do that? So we usually use it maybe if you want to do online orders or you want to do some sort of calculation, right? How can you use it? You can use Firebase function, cloud functions. So again, how you would typically do it on your own, you will need to write business logic, host it on the server, deploy the server, and make sure everything's working fine there. So cloud function Firebase allows you to deploy JavaScript to the cloud. So if you need some sort of code that you need to be deployed and run, but you don't want it to be in the client side, you can always use cloud functions. It supports two modes. One is background triggers, what Jiro had mentioned, or HTTP triggers. And you don't need to actually run any servers. You just have to deploy it and that's done. So one of the few background triggers that it supports is authentication. If you want to be able to support, for example, I want to be able to send an email immediately after the user has signed up a new user. When they click on the register button, I want to send a welcome email, you can do that. And if you want to maybe do some sort of send an email to your customer service manager or your product manager to say that, hey, someone is actually performing a purchase on your site, maybe using analytics, you can do that as well. If you want to send push notifications to your end users once something is done, you can do that as well using the PubSub feature. So all of this is written inside the Cloud Functions itself. So one example that Gerard gave is the ability to convert, for example, text into emoji. So these are some background examples that you can do. So for example, I want to do a batch process every 1 hour with existing data. You want to consolidate some sort of prices. You can use Cloud Functions to help you out with that. And you don't really need to configure anything on the server. You don't have to worry that your code is not running on the server, or maybe you might miss a schedule because the server went down. So let's take a look at some of the features that Firebase has support for you. One of the few things is that if you're building web apps, you can use these features: authentication, Firestore, real-time database. If you want to deploy them, you can use Firebase hosting as well. If you need to write backend code, use Cloud Functions as mentioned earlier on. If you're building mobile apps, this is most likely what you can use as well. These are not exhaustive lists. There are a lot of things that you can add in as well. You just have to explore the documents. So if you're building Internet of Things, POCs, this is one way you can do it. You have a Arduino or C++ supported application that has support for ESP module to connect to Wi-Fi. So you can do that as well. We have a C++ library which you can connect to real-time database, and you can actually use that to send data. Your MCU can send data to real-time database, and you can write a background trigger on Cloud Function to say that, hey, some sensor data is being received, and if this sensor data produces something that you want to alert users to, you can always trigger a cloud messaging that you will receive a push notification, for example. So this is one example you could do it. This is a Node MCU flame detector that sends push notification when a temperature hits a certain limit. You can do that as well. If you want to build chatbots or voice apps, you can do it as well. Or for example, like let's say you want to create an app to say, hey, Google, please order pizza, right? So you can actually build an app using Firebase to help you out with that. So all you need to do is configure your actions on Google and say, hey, please implement my logic in a Cloud Function, and you write your Cloud Function logic there. So you don't need to deploy your own servers. You need to deploy how to manage your natural language processing. All you need to handle is what happens when a person orders a pizza. That's it, really. So even to build even more complex applications like a voice plus IoT feature, you can do the same thing. Again, you can instead ask actions on Google to save data into Cloud Functions, and that saves data into real-time database. And then you can use, and then the Node MCU can always fetch the latest data, and depending on what is being received as an order, you can do something with that. So this is an example that I have. There is no sound, unfortunately, but this is basically a soda dispenser, which dispenses soda on command. So this is the Google action. So I ask it to open the, okay, Google, please open a soda dispenser app. So it opens this app, and basically you can talk to it.
Sorry, I don't understand.
So in this example, I'm asking for a particular drink on the using voice, and that sends data to Cloud real-time database and sends it to this Raspberry Pi, and it dispenses the drinks accordingly. So this is one example you can use it for. So if you want to get started in learning all about Firebase, right, you can always go to the documents, firebase.google.com.docs. If you want to see what you can do with Cloud Functions, you can take a look at this, but this is not exhaustive. This gives you some idea. If you want to get started in working with Firebase and Firestore and trying to build a chat app, you can go to this step-by-step code lab instructions if you want to. If you want to get started with Arduino itself, able to control hardware using Firebase, real-time features, you can always use, you can take a look at this GitHub link. If you want to learn how you can build chatbots or voice actions with Firebase, you can take a look at this code lab instruction as well. It's a step-by-step guide. So I guess that's it. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Shangyi. I saw got the 2 questions over there. So one is Firebase odds can support the Flutter?
Yes, there is a Flutter Fire library. You can search it on GitHub that provides you step-by-step instructions to support Firebase authentication.
Okay, so another one is a chatting app, and Firebase in-app is the same.
So in-app messaging itself is part of the growth stage. Chatting apps is more of the development stage. So they are not the same thing. So if you want to build a chatting app, you can either use real-time database or cloud Firestore to do it for you. So that basically just helps you insert data into the database and sends out all the updates to all the clients who are using your app. And real in-app messaging is for campaigns. For example, if you notice, sometimes you open an app and some sort of campaign pops up in your app that says, hey, there's a 20% off today. Or for example, a Shopee 4/4 sale or Lazada birthday sale, all those sales things that appear randomly time to time. Those can be done using in-app messaging. So what does in-app messaging do? Maybe I can just show you an example right here. So if you go to the in-app messaging section, you basically can configure your campaign. So I want to create a campaign, right? So I think I need to set up in order I can see it. But what does it actually help you do is that you can actually configure any pictures that you want to show, any text you want to show, and when you want to show it. For example, you think most users will most likely want to buy something in the morning or middle of the night before promotion ends. You can send a reminder and say, hey, there's a 99% off discount for all of these items. You can go here and get it. And you can set all of these campaigns. So in-app messaging is used for getting users engaged in your application. So it's rarely used for chatting itself. Yeah.
So, okay. All right. So, next round can see you share about in-app messaging.
Yes, I would love to be able to share some examples you can use in-app messaging with.
So, okay. All right. So, anyone still have that questions? So, if no, then we ask all of you come also. Okay. So, all right. So, thanks, Shangi and Jirawat. Thanks all of you sharing the awesome topic for us, and thanks all of you spending your time with us. So, and we hope next round no more physical event lah. We hope can do physical event. So, okay, all right. So, thank you. So, Jirawat and Shangi, do you have any tips share for about the Firebase? For tips because our audience is junior.
I have the answer for the question when I got. Can I share my screen?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yes. Can you see my screen now?
Okay, I share. Okay. All right.
All right. Okay. So the question one I got from some people.
Gerard, your internet is lacking. Oh, oh no. So okay, all right. Maybe Gerard can answer you next time because I saw maybe his internet is not working really well. So okay. So all right. So maybe see you all next time. So I can ask Gerald post give us the link or the GitHub link and share us maybe next time lah. So all right. So Rachel, any update you need to talk about? Hi Rachel. So hi Rachel. Just now you say you have something to need to share.
Hi. Yeah. Sure. So anyways, we hope that we can bring in a physical event for the next event. So let's see about that. And yes, if there's if you're interested in our future events, you can follow us on our Facebook, you can follow us on Twitter, you can also follow us on our GDG, gdg.community.dev as well. You can look for us there, and yeah, that's about it.
Okay, so thank you. And guys can help us fill up this feedback form, so can help us more to improve lah. So okay. All right, guys. Right. Thank you everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right,
Bye.
bye.
Okay. Bye.